And I'd like to ask.
Morning.
Never mind.
Hello.
Hi there.
Hey, Alan.
Well,
Good morning.
I
Good
think
morning.
good morning.
good morning.
I think the
So-
room is filling up as
How are
people are being admitted, and we'll get started in just 1 minute.
Good morning.
And we- oh.
While we're getting ready, if you could mute your microphones, if they're not already muted, that'd be great.
And we are recording today's session, just to let folks know. So it will be available after today.
I got the notification. Thank you.
Erica, can you help me?
I'm going to go ahead and get started. My name's Jordan Sheff. I am the commissioner at the Department of Developmental Services, and it's good to see some familiar names and faces out there. And I thank you for joining us this morning. I want to thank you for taking time today to join these virtual forums, and I hope you'll find them informative as we explore service options available through STEP. You may have heard mention of STEP a lot recently, and some of you probably still wondering what we're talking about when we say STEP. After discussions with a lot of stakeholders, we learned that DDS needed to find a better way to describe the work that our staff, our providers, the individuals we support, and family members have been engaged in to provide meaningful opportunities for personal independence with integrated community-based settings. STEP does just that. STEP, or Supporting Transformation to Empower People, STEP, is the way we describe our continuum of services and supports that DDS has provided since its inception. STEP is not a product or a new DDS service. It's just a mindset of self-empowerment, one that will encourage all individual DDS supports with their support teams. Will encourage all individuals with DDS supports and their support teams to learn more about the opportunities available to them. Individuals and family members, I'm encouraging you to take the next step and work with your support teams to find more meaningful opportunities for greater independence in your lives, whether that is where you work or live. This will look different for everyone, but we have a lot of resources to share and more updates that our Deputy Commissioner Elisa Velardo will discuss next. In that feedback, we've also heard a lot of questions about ARPA and STEP and how they're related. ARPA, which is the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021, is a one-time federal pandemic relief fund that have been allocated to DDS as a financial kickstart to continue our mission and vision of providing meaningful opportunities for individuals to be more independent. With these one-time federal dollars, we can kickstart the transformational process. So a whole new generation of individuals DDS supports will know about all of the latest opportunities available to them that encourage them to be as independent as they choose. In continuation of that work, I'm happy to be hosting another series of virtual forums throughout the whole month of May. I hope you'll attend as many as possible. They'll each be different and give you a different opportunity and get to be informed on all of the various things going on. Attending today is taking that next step towards personal growth, and I thank you for taking the time to join us. I'm now going to turn it over to Deputy Commissioner Elisa Velardo for more updates and information. I will be sticking around to hear all you have to say, and at the end, when there's questions and answers, be around to be part of that process as well. And with nothing further, I turn it over to Elisa.
Thank you so much, Commissioner. I am Elisa Velardo, Deputy Commissioner, and I am very excited to share a little bit more information about STEP and what it will mean for our service system. After working with various stakeholders over the past year, and some of you may have been involved in that process, DDS has developed a plan on how we will use those federal funds that the Commissioner mentioned to produce more opportunities within the DDS system. As the Commissioner said, we are focused on enhancing and highlighting our services that promote expanded opportunities for choice, independence, and integration through STEP. I encourage you to take that next step and work with your support teams to provide to find meaningful opportunities for greater independence in your lives, whether that's where you live or work. Next slide, please. This is one of several forums that will be taking place throughout the month of May. In addition to assistive technology and remote supports, today's forum, we will be highlighting the following services: self-direction, employment, individualized home support, supportive housing, and community companion homes. Next slide, please. Our vision for STEP ensures that you and your loved ones will feel empowered, valued, and respected. We want to make sure everyone has the opportunity to optimize independence and be valued participants in their community. So I want to highlight some of the things we have done and what you can look forward to over the next several months. Next slide, please. Keep an eye out for our newly created STEP videos that highlight personal stories, and there will be corresponding one-pagers full of information on how to get started with each of the 7 highlighted services. I hope you've received our STEP newsletter in the mail that contains STEP updates and information about the 7 services we are highlighting, and also includes information about upcoming events. The newsletter is available on our website if you have not received a copy in the mail. I also encourage you to sign up for our e-newsletter, as we're hoping to begin to reach out to more people through email. You can find a link to sign up for our email updates in the chat section. In the months ahead, DDS will be breaking down these topics at a regional level, and there will be smaller forums to allow for more personalized information. I want to echo the commissioner's comments and encourage those of you with case managers or with access to the helpline to reach out and ask how one of these highlighted options might fit within your individualized plan. And like the commissioner, I want to challenge those of you who are attending today to take the knowledge that you gain here and not just keep it for yourself, but really share it with others. Through some of the feedback sessions we've held, we've heard really clearly that some of the most trusted sources of information is information that's conveyed through family and friends. So spread the word. I want to thank you for attending this morning, and I'm very excited to get started with the rest of the forum. We've got some great presentations. So as I mentioned, today our topic is assistive technology and remote support, and we have several presenters and subject matter experts here to give more information, and then we'll have time for discussion. As we move through the presentations, I'll ask that you hold all questions until the presentations have concluded. But throughout the presentations, feel free to put your questions in the chat section and we'll answer them at the end of the presentations. This presentation is recorded, as I mentioned, and will be available on our website, our social media pages, and sent out to attendees. So now I'm going to turn it over to Patricia Cymbala. Patricia is our Director of Assistive Technology, and she will speak a little bit more about what's happening in the area of assistive technology throughout DDS. Welcome, Patricia.
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner. Thank you for this opportunity to talk about assistive technology. Assistive technology is such an amazing field. It is ever-changing and advancing, and the sole purpose of it is to improve people's lives, is to help people complete tasks that they wouldn't normally be able to do without the assistance of technology. To me, that's really exciting. It's amazing. So what is assistive technology? Assistive technology is any item, piece of equipment, or product system, whether acquired commercially, modified, or customized, that's used to increase, maintain, or improve functional capabilities of participants. That is how DDS defines it. Next slide, please. And it falls under 3 categories. It can be no tech, low tech, or high tech. An example of no tech would be a pencil grip, something that helps you hold the pencil in order to write. Low tech can be a buzzard, switches. electric organizer. In high tech, you start to get into more expensive products, the touch screens, the text to speech and speech recognition software. Next slide, please. So how do you find the right person-centered AT device to infuse into a person's everyday life? Sorry. Okay. It's a very person-centered process. The key is to take a person-centered approach towards it, and if needed, to use an AT assessment. They're not always needed, but if needed, it would be done by someone who's knowledgeable of assistive technology, and their sole goal would be to find the device that helps you complete that task that you need to complete. Next slide, please. So it all starts with a conversation. Starts with a conversation with your case manager. You could contact me, or you can ask your case manager if an AT evaluation is needed. That person that does that AT evaluation should be very knowledgeable in it, and your case manager can direct you as to where you can find that person to do that AT evaluation. Next slide, please. So if an AT evaluation is needed, the person doing the evaluation really needs to get to know the person, and they need to ask important questions. They should be asking, what AT devices have the person already used? What have you already used? Are you still using the product? And if not, why are you not using that product? They need to know that you'll be supported in the different environments in which you'll be in, whether it's at work, whether it's in the community, whether it's at home. Who's going to help you with that device? And at that point, it becomes a team process, because everyone should be educated on how to use the product so that they can assist you. And most importantly, they're going to ask, what's the task that you're trying to complete? And how can technology help you do that? Next slide, please. Once the right person-centered assistive technology is chosen, what's next? Well, what's next is that those products then need to be installed or implemented. Training is involved. You need to be trained on how to use it, and follow-up. It's extremely important that we know that the product is right for you, that you're happy with the product, that it's working, that we've achieved those measured outcomes. Next slide, please. So what's DDS doing to assist families? Well, we're providing evaluations if needed. We're educating individuals and families on benefits of assistive technology. We're helping get assistive technology into the hands of families and individuals. And we're providing that follow-up training and support. Next slide, please. We're doing this with the assistance of ARPA funds, American Rescue Plan Act funds, government funds, which have really done wonders. And we're very fortunate to have these funds. One of the things we're doing on June 22nd is we'll be having an assistive technology conference, and we encourage families and individuals to come. It's going to be a great conference. There's going to be a lot of things to learn at the conference. There's going to be different breakout rooms and different sessions. You'll be learning about incentives for individuals, families, and private providers, assistive technology for the home, for employment. You'll learn more about evaluations and how they're used to determine those technology needs. Accessibility features on smartphones and tablets, and remote supports. Remote supports is a wonderful service that you'll be hearing more about later, which promotes independence and supported living. Next slide, please. At the conference, we will have a program called AT&Me. This is something we're really excited about. It's a peer-to-peer learning and teaching experience. The curriculum was established by the self-advocate coordinators. And what it is different products that you will be able to take home with you. The class, the curriculum that the self-advocate coordinators established is based specifically on those products. So you will receive a computer backpack with a Chromebook in it, an iPhone, a hotspot, which both have 1 year of service, and a headset. These are the tools that everybody uses to integrate into this digital society that we have. So this is a great, great opportunity. So I encourage you, please, to come. You do have to register and you have to sign up in order to be in the class. And the classes will go on throughout the entire day. So please do. Once you take the class, you will then have access to a PowerPoint, which the PowerPoint also teaches a class. Every PowerPoint, the self-advocate coordinators, they've made it so that when you click on it, it speaks on each of the products in detail. So you don't have to become a teacher overnight. You'll have that PowerPoint to help you. And you will then teach 2 other people that they too will receive a backpack with the different items in it. So please come to the conference, look into AT&Me, contact me. I'd love to talk about it. Next slide, please. There are other notice of opportunities, which are basically grants that we have in place now as well. We have 2 notice of opportunities, 2 grants, which are one is for providers and one is for individuals and families. And that's to acquire assistive technology that's needed. It can also be used to promote remote supports as well as to get an evaluation needed, or just get that AT that you already know you need. If it is something on a higher level, which requires a speech and language pathologist or an occupational therapist, then we would require that they then look into it. They then do their own evaluation to determine the proper assistive technology for you. The last one is enabling technology for self-employment and or to acquire or maintain employment. And that's for qualified providers as well as individuals. So we're living in an amazing time where you no longer have to start a business with a brick and mortar establishment. You could start a dog walking business with an app that would help you coordinate your booking, your payments, customer communications, everything, all on an iPhone, on a phone, period. You could learn how to use a 3D printer, create a product. And in creating that product, you could then sell it on a third-party platform, whether it be Etsy, whether it be Amazon, or what have you. The opportunities are endless. The opportunities are endless for you to determine what your career is going to be. And if you want to know more about other grants that are out, please give me a call and I'll be more than happy to talk to you about it. I'm very, very excited about assistive technology. It's really hard not to be. This is an amazing time we're living in. And I encourage you, please go to the conference, please look more into it, and you'll be learning more about it in the following slides. So, Deputy Commissioner, thank you very much for this opportunity. I give it back to you.
Thank you so much, Patricia. And thanks for kicking us off with this presentation. We're now going to turn it over to Duane Dyer, who has been involved in outfitting our respite centers as smart homes. And Duane is going to give us a virtual tour of DDS Respite Center. Welcome, Duane.
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner. And good morning, everyone. Next slide, please. This is the Middletown Respite Center. Located at 180 Olympus Parkway, Middletown is one of 4 respite centers in the South region and one of 12 statewide. This center is the first to host a growing collection of assistive technology devices that individuals and their families can experience and try out to enjoy and see what might be helpful in their own homes and lives. The Department of Developmental Services has made a significant investment in adding these devices, and all respite centers will be similarly outfitted over the course of the summer. This presentation is a brief overview of the devices currently installed, as well as those that are on order and will be added in coming weeks. Next slide, please. The respite center exteriors are outfitted with ring floodlights and ring doorbells. Smart floodlights, like the one over the main entrance, enable individuals to see and hear what's happening outside their homes while safely inside, engage in two-way conversation with those outside if desired, and review camera footage to see what occurred in the past when needed. Smart doorbells, like the one at the kitchen entrance, have the added interactivity of being able to see who is at your door before choosing whether to open it, and respond to those at the door from anywhere you might be, even when you're away from home. Viewing cameras, viewing camera footage, and engaging in two-way conversation can all be performed using any connected phone, tablet, or Alexa-enabled device with a video screen. Next slide. As we enter the respite center into the kitchen area, we see several assistive technology devices. Next slide. Each respite center is outfitted with a ring alarm system and a variety of connected sensors. The base station on the upper left is the brains of the system. All sensors and the input keypad on the upper right connect to the base. The base station also provides audio feedback and audio alerts when any of the sensors are triggered. The sensors are shown along the bottom of the screen. From left to right, we have contact sensors that are installed on doors and windows and communicate when one is opened or closed. This can alert when individuals are entering or leaving a home. Contact sensors can also be used in other applications, such as alerting when a refrigerator or freezer door is opened. The sensors can be customized so that each door makes a different sound, or doors make a different sound than windows, so that the audio alerts are more useful. Motion sensors detect motion and can communicate that a loved one is in a certain room or a certain area of the home. This can be helpful during nighttime hours to ensure that individuals are not in a potentially unsafe area or activity. Flood and freeze sensors are placed under sinks and in areas where a user can be alerted to water leaks or dangerous heating situations immediately, whether the user is home or away. And smoke and carbon monoxide listeners are placed near existing smoke and CO detectors. They're tuned to listen to the alarm pitch that these detectors make and can notify the user immediately in the event one is set off. The Ring alarm system can be armed and disarmed using the provided keypad, the Ring app on a phone or a tablet, or via voice command. The alarm can either be self-monitored or optionally professionally monitored for a fee. Respite centers are equipped with Fire tablets and iPads for control of devices via app. Next slide. Smart speakers are placed in all respite center common areas and bedrooms to enable voice control of connected devices. We utilize Echo Show 10s in our kitchens, as seen in the upper left corner of the screen. All Echo smart speakers allow users to ask questions and receive relevant information, set alarms and timers, play music, control smart home devices, and communicate via announcements that play on speakers in other rooms. For example, dinner's ready, or leaving for rec outing in 15 minutes. Additionally, the Echo Show 10, with its 10-inch video screen, can play videos, view Ring cameras, and answer the Ring doorbell, place and receive video calls, and more. The Echo Show 10 has a motorized screen that can be set to follow the user. So someone prepping a meal, for example, can always see the recipe displayed while moving from fridge to prep area to stove. This motorized screen also ensures that you stay on screen while moving about the room during a video call. The unit has a privacy feature. It has switches that turn the microphone and camera off when desired. The Hamilton Beach Smart Coffee Maker on the upper right corner of the screen features easily accessible front loading of water and coffee grounds, a clock that automatically sets and updates via the internet, and can be controlled via either physical buttons or voice commands. The coffee maker can also be incorporated into a voice-controlled routine. So, for example, with a single voice command in the morning, you can have certain lights turn on, your home's temperature adjusted, the coffee start brewing, and relevant information such as weather and traffic spoken to help start your day. The June oven, seen at the bottom of the screen, was recently purchased by the Weber Grill Company. This smart device offers 12 cooking modes: convection oven, pizza oven, baking, roasting, broiling, grilling, warming, reheating, toasting, slow cooking, air frying, and dehydrating. It has a large capacity that can accommodate 9x13 baking pans and sheets, and has temperature probes and sensors that ensure food cooks perfectly. The oven can be controlled via voice commands, via the included 5-inch touchscreen, and via connected app on a phone or tablet. Interior lights and camera allow you to see the cooking progress in the app, which also features the ability to remotely adjust cook time and temperature. While many are included, an optional premium membership, which costs $120 per year, offers hundreds of guided step-by-step recipes with photos, videos, and touch commands and cooking presets. Next slide, please. Moving into the living room area, we see several additional assistive technology devices. Next slide. Common area televisions are equipped with Fire TV Cube streaming devices, seen on the left, and all bedroom televisions are equipped with Fire TV Stick streaming devices. Both offer control via voice or the provided remote, access to optional streaming services, and privacy features like microphone mute when desired. The Shark AI Ultra Vacuum, seen on the right, uses LiDAR, a technology that allows it to sense its environment, to map room dimensions and detect and avoid objects in its space. It works on all floor types and has a self-cleaning brush roller to prevent hair and fur tangles. When the Shark docks to recharge, it empties itself into its base. The base has a true HEPA filter that traps over 99% of allergens and has up to a 60-day capacity. The vacuum can be controlled via voice or connected app on a phone or tablet. These devices can help those living alone and individuals with mobility challenges keep their environments clean. Next slide. The Echo Show 8 on the lower right of the screen offers all the features of the Echo Show 10 in the kitchen, minus the motorized screen. The Amazon Smart Air Quality Monitor on the lower left monitors indoor air quality and can report and provide alerts that are especially useful for those with breathing issues, such as asthma, allergies, and COPD. The unit measures 5 different air quality metrics. Its front-facing indicator light shines green for good air quality, yellow for fair, or red for poor. The voice-controlled unit provides useful information, including tips for reducing air pollutants. The monitor will send audio alerts to connected smart speakers if air quality becomes poor, as well as sending notifications to connected phones or tablets. The lamps are plugged into Amazon smart plugs displayed up top, which enable them to be turned on and off, either individually or by group via voice or app. These smart plugs can be used to control lamps or any other simple on-off device, such as lights, including Christmas lights, fans, humidifiers, dehumidifiers, and the like. These smart devices can be set to automatically turn on at dusk, off at sunrise, or to randomly turn on and off when away to make a home appear occupied. Next slide, please. Each respite center bedroom is outfitted with several assistive technology devices. Next slide. The Fire TV Stick on the lower right of the screen offers most of the features of the previously discussed Fire TV Cube. The voice control options are a bit less robust, but the units are lighter for use with wall-mounted televisions. The Echo Dock with clock, shown lower center, is a smart speaker with an illuminated alphanumeric display. It can show the time, the temperature, current song playing, and other relevant information. Users can tap the unit to play or pause songs, to stop ringing timers, and to snooze alarms. The dot has a physical microphone mute button for privacy. The Echo Glow smart nightlight on the lower left of the screen is a dimmable smart light that can be controlled via voice, connected app, or to a more limited extent by tapping the unit. The Glow features 16 lighting colors, 14 lighting effects, such as campfire, Christmas, and disco, and can be set to automatically turn on and off at specified times. Next slide, please. In addition to an Echo Dot smart speaker for voice control, the Den has two very popular assistive technology devices. The first is the Yeti tablet. It's a 65-inch Android tablet that features a steel frame, a hardened safety glass screen, upgradable hardware, many customization options, and a motorized base that can raise or lower to accommodate users of different heights, those in wheelchairs, and even lower into a smart table format. So multiple users can collaborate and interact while enjoying apps to paint, play musical instruments, and stimulate their senses. Apps can be downloaded from the Google Play Store to play movies, engage in learning activities, and explore areas of interest. We also have plug-in webcams, so the Yetis can be used for video calls with friends and family, in services and video conferences. Next slide. The Nintendo Switch is a video game system that can be played as a portable device on its own screen or docked to display on a television. The system offers family-friendly content and special motion controllers that enable players of various ability levels to get physically active while having fun, regardless of the weather outside. Players simulate driving in games like Mario Kart and use natural movements while playing sports games such as bowling, golf, soccer, tennis, and volleyball. We also have accessories such as wristband controller holders for dancing and fitness games. And that concludes our virtual DDS Respite Center AT tour.
Thank you so much, Duane. What a great visit to one of our respite centers. And I'm really blown away by the assistive technology that's been put in place over the last several years. I do want to put in a plug. The fourth Tuesday forum this month is on respite and individualized home supports. So if you're interested in learning more about respite, you'll see some of the features that Duane shared, but learn more about what the respite centers have to offer and what other respite options are available to individuals and families. And that's on May 23rd. Now I'm going to turn it over to Amy Blazawski, Self-Determination Director, who is going to speak a little bit about remote supports, one of our newer waiver services. Welcome, Amy.
Thank you, Deputy Commissioner. Good morning to all of you, and thank you so much for joining. In my role as the North Region Self-Determination Director, I've been working closely with the Remote Supports Committee. And basically, our mission is to advance the department's ability to develop and implement this exciting new service option, along with individuals and their interdisciplinary person-centered planning teams. I thought maybe I could start with a definition of remote supports, and throughout this presentation, I will kind of talk a little bit more about how you'll know if remote supports are right for you. So remote supports really speaks to the delivery of support by staff to a remote location through virtual means. And that's by paid staff or natural supports who are engaged with the individual through technology or devices that have the ability to use two-way communication, live two-way communication. That's really important to understand remote supports. So some of the equipment that we would use to meet that requirement must include one or more of the following systems. So either motion sensing systems, radio frequency identification, a live video feed, a live audio feed, GPS tracking, web-based oversight systems, or a device that otherwise meets the requirement for two-way communication. So individual interaction with staff may be scheduled. It could be on demand, or it could be in response to an alert from a device in the remote support equipment system. So we're going to look into some of the equipment that we might look at to use with remote supports. But the most important thing to remember is that we're looking at the option to increase someone's ability to become more independent or to be more autonomous in their daily doings. We want to make sure that we're expanding and enhancing a person's abilities and making sure that it's customized to make sure that their goals, their desired outcomes and preferences are met. You know, also reducing dependence on others to meet their daily needs. So some of the examples that we could look at in terms of how remote supports could be useful would be in cooking, overnight or daytime support, use of medication devices so that people are more independently able to and safely able to adhere to their medication schedules and regimes, fall detection, monitoring for visitors, looking at community navigation through GPS, organization, home safety, also visual and hearing devices, and certainly communication aids. Next slide, please. So as I mentioned, the two-way real-time communication is absolutely key to the remote support service. We look at making sure that a person is able to get in touch with somebody in real time so that their needs can be met at that immediate time. Next slide, please. So we're going to talk a little bit about how to get started. And in my role in self-direction and self-determination, we use several different person-centered planning tools that you can learn more about on our website. Some of them include charting a life course, paths, maps, and our traditional individual planning tools. But today we're going to take a look at a person-centered planning method that's specific to enabling technology, along with some general information and terminology that's really just intended to help us understand more about remote supports. Next slide. So one of those tools is called Are Remote Supports Right for Me? And really we have to ask the question, what would the individual like to be able to do more independently by using remote supports? What is it that they would like to achieve? The real purpose of this assessment is to determine the appropriateness of utilizing remote technology as a part of that individual service delivery plan. So it will really assist the person with making informed choices and planning for success. We're looking at engaging planning team members and making sure that they are 100% involved in making sure that it's right for the individual, and that any challenges or issues or concerns that become evident can be addressed. And that's really one of the most important parts of having this be a team process. Next slide. So here's a little example of what we might see on that planning tool. So first, we really have to ask, is the individual interested in pursuing remote supports? Because the buy-in has to be there. And we ask several other questions, as you see here. Some of those, being centered around safety, some around independence, being able to identify some backup supports. Are there any natural supports that are available? And can the person participate when those supports are provided by audio or visual direction? Next slide, please. So once we get some of those questions answered around, is there team buy-in? Is the individual ready to go with this? What's our next step? So once we decide that remote supports could possibly be a good option, we would then conduct a team meeting with the individual and, look at some agency providers or remote support providers along with the case manager, talk about what might be met remotely in terms of that person's needs, looking at what hours and how that backup support could or would be provided. So the case manager really has a forward-leading role with assisting in putting together the service plan for remote supports. And we do have some remote support guidelines and steps, and those are posted on our website as well. Next slide. So we have a remote support. This is one of those documents that can really assist a person and their team in putting together a remote support plan. So some of the things on the remote support checklist might include that we've completed the remote support right for me tool. Do we have the adequate resources, or have we requested the resources through the department? Have we identified a combination of technology or services that will meet the individual's needs? Have we identified a virtual support partner or an on-call backup entity, and a technology supplier? We also need to make sure that remote supports are well documented in that person-centered plan. Next slide. Next slide. So when we look at a virtual support partner, we're talking about a paid support person, such as an agency or a qualified provider. It could also be an unpaid support person, such as a family member, a friend, or other natural supports. And in that virtual support partner will be working from a remote location utilizing the remote support system that's been designed for that individual. So we would identify that virtual support partner, and then, next slide, please. We would look at a remote support technology supplier. Now, this entity has the responsibility to set up the customized remote support systems that are necessary to run the remote supports. And of course, it's based on each individual's needs. This particular supplier may additionally provide the real-time virtual partner supports. So some companies could actually be the virtual support partner and the remote support technology supplier. When we talk about the system, we're talking about technology that facilitates and provides remote support service. So some of these systems are wireless technology or phone lines. They could link to an individual's home or a virtual support partner off-site. The system could use remote sensor technology to send real-time data to the virtual support partner, who is then immediately available to assess the situation and provide assistance in accordance with that individual's response plan. Next slide. Next slide. So we would need to also identify some assistive technology products, and that could be hardware or software. As Patricia earlier explained, you know, it could be any item, piece of equipment, or product that's designed to enhance autonomy and um, and I just wanted to mention that most of the time, the use of AT that's intended to enable independence would really not require a Human Rights Committee review, unless, of course, it's determined to infringe on the rights of the individual or others. And then in that case, an HRC review would be required. Next slide. So internet connectivity and broadband is extremely important because the means that we run the remote supports really need a strong cellular or internet service provider. And really, you know, we know in our own lives that, you know, Wi-Fi and cable are so important to our, not just for entertainment, but for our work. And so with regard to remote supports, this is integral for people to be able to experience the true remote supports as they're intended to be delivered. Next slide. And so identifying, you know, the times, the service days and times is always a good idea, although we do know that remote supports can be an on-demand type of service. So, you know, this is all just part of that planning process. Next slide. So an in-person response plan would really be created through the team and the providers, and they're going to identify who will serve as the on-call support. This also has to provide detail on at least one backup, and then the expectations around response times with a maximum of 30. Next slide. So the on-call backup entity, that's basically the backup agency that may receive a notification from the virtual support partner or from the remote technology directly that an in-person staff intervention is necessary. We do know in emergency situations that may be 911. However, when there's staff intervention that's necessary, that on-call backup entity would then, you know, dispatch to provide that in-person support. So that is, in a nutshell, a little bit about remote supports. I encourage you to participate in all the newest STEP forums. I'll also be talking a bit more regarding self-determination and self-direction tomorrow at 9 a.m. Thank you, Deputy Commissioner Velardo and Commissioner Sheff, for holding and hosting these valuable forums.
Thank you so much, Amy. You gave a great overview of remote supports. And this next slide, if you have questions, specific questions around how assistive technology may be beneficial, Patricia Cymbala, our Director of Assistive Technology, would be happy to hear from you. And I am so excited because I'm seeing the questions that have been put in the chat. Some of them are way too technical for me to respond to, but at this point, we'll turn it over to questions. So I'm opening the chat. I know that a number of people, as we were talking about the different resources that are available regarding STEP, I mentioned the newsletter. Yes, the newsletter will be offered in Spanish. There's a link to the Spanish version that's available on our website. So thank you for that question. And then there's a question from Audrey. Can we give case managers a list of who can do the AT evaluations? And we do have a list of qualified providers that's growing pretty rapidly, but we can share that link with case managers. The next question, is PRC, HRC needed for all these smart devices? And that's a great question. And Amy touched on it, but I do have our use of video audio technology policy up, and this is a great opportunity to really clarify where assistive technologies and remote supports fits into that policy. So under applicability, if a person is living in their own home or in their family home, this policy does not apply to them. So people who use technology in their own home, their own setting, no need for HRC review. They're just making decisions in terms of what technology can be used in their home. And then there's another section for people that may live in settings with other people. As long, in the case of non-recording video or audio devices that are designed to enhance the independence of an individual, and the devices used has been agreed to by the ID team. As long as there are consents in place, that doesn't require HRC approval. As Amy said, only if it may infringe on the privacy or the be potentially intrusive for another individual. In that case, it would go through HRC for review. I hope that's helpful. Anybody have anything to add on that? All right. The next question, there were questions about where to sign up for the AT conference, and Lauren put the link in the chat. We would love to see people start registering. If you have questions about the conference, you can also reach out to Patricia. Are individuals and families invited to attend the conference? Yep. It's really, that's the target audience. We will have DDS staff there, staff from other provider agencies, but the target audience is individuals and families. How do we ensure these digital devices and systems are safe against cyber attacks and other threats? Who wants to take that one?
Actually, Duane and I will tag team that. But there are safeguards that you can put in place to protect the devices. And we've done that in great detail with a lot of the devices that we have at the respite centers. But Duane, I'm going to let you get more into detail on that.
I would say that because the assistive technology devices that we're talking about are all internet connected devices, the security would be at the router level. So when the internet signal comes into the home, it's then broadcast around the home through the router, and there are security options that you could set to better protect your network.
Deputy Commissioner, our next question comes from Charmaine Navikonis. Charmaine says, these forums are amazing. Will older standard equipment be available as standbys in the case of errors with any of these assistive technologies? Also, I'm assuming that these are all run by batteries or electric charging. Is that correct?
It all depends on the product. It really depends on the product, how they're charged.
So backup products in case there is some difficulty with a product.
I think there's always good to have backup products in the case of remote supports. If you were working with an agency or an entity, they would supply a backup product with that agreement.
I would say also that that's one of the goals for our growing lending library, that in addition to being able to try before you decide which devices are right for you, we can also use those devices in a pinch to put in place as a backup if something were to fail.
Thank you both. Gunnar, any additional questions?
Next, we have something from Audrey O'Leary. I'll read through it in its entirety. Audrey says, I have an individual who lives in their own apartment and gets in-home supports or individualized home supports. She received an assistive technology grant last year to be able to assist with medication administration and apartment cleanliness and cooking. Staff call her on her device and have face-to-face contact while she is taking her meds, and she then walks and shows her apartment so staff can see if she has done her activity list. I've received additional IHS support hours, but am wondering if the agency should be billing IHS for these supports, or is there another code that they should be billing under?
That's a complicated question, Audrey. I think we probably either Amy or Patricia can sit down with you. And so remote supports can't be billed for at the same time as IHS services. And it would really depend on what's coded to assistive technology, if any of it is considered remote supports, and then what is the IHS hours. And so I think we can dig into that more deeply. And typically, if you have a specific question like that, Gunnar will reach out after the forum, gather more information, and then we'll get you a full response.
I'd just like to comment on that quickly. I think people sometimes mix up our electronic face-to-face service, which is an IHS service. And it sounds like, Audrey, that may be what you're referring to, but again, we can have a conversation offline, so.
Okay, looking through the chat.
Thank you, Patricia.
We have one from Lynn Arizini, and Lynn, I see you have your hand up. Lynn said, is there DDS funding for internet? My son pays over $200 for internet just for his iPad and landline phone without cable from Xfinity. And Lynn, would you like to expand on that, or is that?
Well, yeah, that was a question I had, and then I have another one that I wanted to ask in person. So right now, Marrakesh is looking at some kind of a discount. I found some like internet discount type of things because it just seems like such an exorbitant fee for him, and it takes away a lot of his money that he needs for food because his food stamps keeps getting reduced. So and someone mentioned backup, and that is absolutely crucial. I mean, people may wonder why he still has a landline, but if his cell phone goes or his iPad goes, I think I've mentioned before in these forums that unfortunately one of Carl's biggest behavior issues is when technology fails. And we're talking about landing himself in the emergency room because he smashes TVs and iPads, and we've had to get 6 TVs over the course of, especially during the pandemic. And now we just bought a screen protector. So for Carl, technology is a blessing and a curse. And when it doesn't work, it's really serious for him. So I'm a little trepidation when I think about technology, but then when he's on these iPad things with Chapel Haven, he sounds like a typical person the way he interacts on the iPad. compared to how he acts in person. And we certainly are encouraging a lot of in-person things with him, but his language skills and his whole way of being is almost transformed when he's on the iPad. And yet last night there was a Zoom thing that you had to update, and you see the word update and it's like a red alarm, fire alarm, update, and I'm in a real rock and a hard place with technology with my son. So I just have to sort of explain that.
There's quite a few parts to that question, but in the notice of opportunity of the grant, we are paying up to $50 a month to assist with internet. So that would assist in that situation. I'm glad Marrakesh is helping you, because I believe it's the FCC has discounted prices depending on income to assist with your bills. So I'm glad
Yeah,
you're going
there's
that
two different ones. One, Xfinity is like a $50 discount. And then if you change to Frontier, you can get the same thing you get with Smart Links with the track phone. But there again, even taking Carl's stuff away to change a provider is a huge problem, with his behaviors. So, and we're working on that with the behavioralist and medication as well. So it's just, really a complex problem, but that does have to be taken into consideration. I'm sure there's many other people with autism, especially, that, depend on these technical devices, and when they fail, it's really very serious in terms of their safety. My son's anyway.
There's other devices that can be put into place that have different uses that would also work as that backup as well. And it would
Okay,
expose them to more and different
Yeah,
technology as well. And I'll
I'm
be
gonna-
glad to talk to you about that.
I'm going to ask my case manager for him to have a tech eval and see what we can come up with.
Great.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Lynn. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Gunnar, and Commissioner too.
Next, we have our South Region Self-Advocate Coordinator, Carol Grabby. Carol. Carol, I think you're on mute still.
So I remember applying for a grant for, I don't remember what it was, but I got a projection screen and a projector, and that was through a grant. So and I was wondering if there's a way that I can apply for a grant so that I can get an automatic, I think you were saying something, Amy, about a automatic pill thing. And I was wondering if there is a way I can apply for a grant for that, so I don't have to be paying $100 and something from my own budget. So I don't know if there's a way I can do that.
Yes, Carol, there's several different options that you can talk to your case manager about. You can actually contact myself or Patricia to find out which device would be best for you.
Thank you, Amy. I will email you and CC Patricia on that. Thank you very much. I greatly appreciate it.
I see Natasha Cole has her hand up. Natasha, would you like to come on?
Of course. I would like to know, is the Assistive Technology Conference virtual or in person? Thank you.
It is in person. That's a great question, Natasha. It is in person. It is in Rocky Hill, the Sheraton in Rocky Hill, 100 Capitol Ave. And a link was put on for the registration in the chat.
Patricia, do you want to talk a little bit about the demo part of that?
Yes, there'll be vendors there. There'll be quite a few vendors there, and they will also have breakout rooms where they will be demoing their products. So you'll get a more extensive knowledge of how those products function. But it's a really good place to get a lot of exposure as to the different assistive technologies that exist right now.
I'm sorry, I have a question, but I don't know how exactly how to raise my hand in Zoom. I'm sorry. Can I ask it, or does anyone else have anything else to say?
I think it's fine, Kevin. You
Just
can
want to make
answer.
sure. Just want to make sure. Well, it's kind of like a two-part question. First of all, Patricia, you said that the AT conference, that the APSI conference tomorrow. No? Okay.
I'm sorry, Kevin. Repeat that, please.
Well, you said there was an AT conference coming. I just want to know if that was the same conference that's happening tomorrow, the APSI. Okay. That was
No,
the
it's
first
not.
part.
It's on June 22nd.
Okay. That was the first
Technology
part.
Innovative Conference.
Yeah. My second question is, well, how do I say this? Like, a lot of people have, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Difficulty, not just paying for internet or anything, but also finding it in the first place. Like finding the good, what's the word I'm looking for? Not provider, but like AT&T, T-Mobile, that sort of thing. Do we have a certain company, or how you say, a certain what's the word I'm looking for? Certain I guess provider that will help us with getting more individuals those kinds of resources?
You're talking about companies that
Well,
work with
yeah,
us,
like,
qualified providers?
Well,
I think he's, Kevin, it's Jordan. You're asking about access to individual internet service providers and whether,
something like that, yeah.
Okay.
so whether
Thank
you
you
can
very
get to Verizon Hub or an AT&T or
Well-
Singular or,
Not like that. No, it's like every kind. If you need internet, you need to have a subscription with a company. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
I mean, I know everyone, or at least mostly everyone, has done that before. What I want to know is there a certain company, like with, let's say, T-Mobile or Verizon or AT&T, are we partnering with any of them for this? That's what I'm asking.
So I think we don't have a specific provider that we recommend, but we do have a way to offset the cost through
Okay.
one of these technology grants. The Notice of Opportunity for the Assistive Technology can help to cover the cost. So you would need to pick the provider that
Okay.
works
this-
best for you. And then the grant would be able to offset some of the cost.
Okay, because I remember that when I, like, for example, Patricia, when I was working with you on the PowerPoint, AT PowerPoint, I remember that many of the links you sent me, the resources, were connected to T-Mobile, for example. So I thought, are we like, how you say, relying on them not just for the pieces of technology, but also for, let's say, like people have to practice in order to
Yep,
get the
got
technology right.
Yep, I gotcha. So,
Yeah.
yes, we have qualified providers that we went through to get the products for the AT&T and qualified vendors, and that was T-Mobile. And
Okay.
at the conference, they'll be assisting us because it's
That's
quite a bit of
good.
equipment helping us and helping individuals set up the phone, set up that
Okay.
hotspot.
That's
Because
that
they know
was
the equipment better. It's their equipment. So
That was the answer to
yes,
my question, because
Yep.
like, I know we can do a lot on our own, but when it comes to like their products, I
Yeah.
thought maybe we should like, have some help. But
So Kevin, a lot of times where you're located really kind of determines where you'll get your broadband or your
yeah,
fiber
that I
optic
understand.
services. So it depends on, location too.
Yeah, it was mostly for the AT conference because, I was just confused on that. Anyway,
That was helpful, Kevin. At the
Wow.
products through the
I
AT&T.
don't know how that was helpful, but I'm glad I helped.
I'm clear.
Thank you very much, Kevin. Next, we have a question, or rather a statement from our DDS ombudsperson, Shannon Giacovino. Shannon would like to have one of us explain what PRC and HRC is, since it's been referenced quite a bit in this presentation.
Want to take that, Commissioner?
Yeah, I'm going to screw up the acronym for PRC. HRC is our Human Rights Committee, which is in place to ensure that people's rights, when using things that could be considered restrictive or invasive, are used to support people. It does other things, but so when we were talking about does technology need assistance from, does it need approval from Human Rights Committee and PRC is, I believe, a peer review program review committee. I mess that up every time. Program review committee, which has similar functions to ensure that people's rights are being recognized, that any use of medication or anything that may seem restrictive is approved by a group of people that pool together monthly in each region to evaluate those things. So those are what those two acronyms mean.
And if we do speak in acronyms, definitely ask for clarification. I think it's just second nature, so I appreciate that.
Okay, I don't see too many new questions in the chat. We do have one that just populated from Emily Pudva. She says, hello, would any of the grants have funds to assist with technology at Camp Q?
So we may look at outfitting both camps that the state still operates with technology, whether that's Camp Harkness or Camp Q. And we would do those directly. A grant wouldn't be necessary. The way Camp Q operates is that very often individuals are assisted by people outside the DDS, outside of DDS specifically, with a lot of their needs. And if there was specific technology to make things more accessible or to make camp more enjoyable, to get more out of that, you would be able to, there's a lot of the technology that that was described today can be portable. So that's certainly a possibility.
Okay, I see Yana has her hand raised. Yana, would you like to unmute?
Yeah, I was wondering if any of these grants would be apply them to helping upgrade the technology at the DDS offices. Because I'm noticing now that I'm back in the office that our internet is laggy. My internet service at home is much better than the one at the East Hartford office. And if we're going to be going back to our offices again, like we were pre-COVID, then we got to move with the times because we're doing a lot more online, a lot more Zoom, a lot more team. The service isn't always reliable, and I'm noticing that there've been a couple of times where it's not me, but one of my coworkers, he's had to go all the way back home because his internet, his computer at the office isn't working, and he takes the city bus, so that for him, that's a lot.
Yeah.
So I think we really have to upgrade the service if we're gonna go back to the office full time. Get broadband internet, maybe letting people plug their own laptops into the office Wi-Fi. I wish I could do that, because my laptop works a lot better than my desktop at the office. And I wish there was a way I could use my laptop, because I actually prefer my own laptop because it works a lot faster.
Yeah, so
But
Yana,
yeah, I think we need to get with the times.
I appreciate that, Yana. We don't have a lot of control over the Wi-Fi or the internet in the regional offices, but I'm sure we can make sure that your concern is known to our partners at DAS BITS, which is now the centralized IT provider for the state, information technology provider. So we'll follow up on that. Patricia, did you have something to add to that?
Yes, I did want to say that we are working on improving the technology in the respite centers, CLAs and ICFs. We are working on it now and going to fiber optics. And that's a huge project, and there'll actually be a huge savings from that.
Yeah,
as well.
fiber optics at the office will be great, especially now that we're doing a lot more on Teams and Zoom. Because I can't tell you how many times it's lagged on me, or I still can't open up Teams, the app on my computer at the office. I have to go through it online, and it's pretty annoying. Like I said, I have a coworker who, and you know him, his computer doesn't work, and he's had to go all the way home.
Yeah, and I agree with you, but we're working on the respite centers, we're working on the other locations. And it's for the new technology that we're putting in, and we'll also be ready for more advanced technology that comes down the road. So
Also, are we going to be able to part of the technology? I have individuals who don't have internet at their home all the time. So one of my individuals goes when we do virtual groups, when we did them, now we're in person, but she used to go to the public library to use the computer. Is there a way I can?
if she
Get her a
receives
hot-
supports,
I know.
from DDS, have her go to the conference or have her sign up for the ATME, because you as one of the self-advocate coordinators and others will also be teaching the class well after the conference. It's not just all about the conference, but have her go, and she receives support from DDS. She'll get a
that's the thing,
hotspot
she doesn't.
and a laptop and all the other equipment to be able to get online.
Yana, I would suggest also using a cell phone as, you know, to tether to a computer. As you mentioned, you know, sometimes I actually have to do that with
Yeah, I
my
do that for my
work
groups.
as well. So yeah, just keeping that in mind is you can, if the person has a smartphone, they can join directly, you know, through the social media platform, whatever you're using, or you can tether to the computer through your cellular service.
I'll let her know. And maybe the Hartford Library, I know what the West Hartford Library has hotspots that folks can borrow. I'm not sure she's in Hartford. I'm not sure the Hartford Library has that.
All right. Thank you, Yana. We'll get to a couple questions in the chat and then go up to some folks who have their hands raised. Lauren Tucker wants to know, how do we apply for the grant to offset some of the cost for internet services?
Again, we do cover $50 a month through the notice of opportunity, through the grant. So you would apply for it. It's an online application, and we can get you the application. Okay, it's an electronic form.
If you work with a case manager, I would
They would know the link
just
too. Yeah.
work with your case manager, whoever your contact is at DDS.
And I see a question from Teresa Gonzalez. Teresa, I'll gladly answer that question outside of this. I have a feeling it's going to be a little more detailed and specific to what
Thank
you're
you.
asking. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Okay, I see Trisha Nolan has a hand up. Trisha, would you like to come on?
Morning. It's more of a suggestion in regards to the AT NOOs and the one-times that come through the resource. One of the things that I hear often from agencies and often from, you know, individuals, especially in our IHS programs, is that when they're going for the AT assessments and you're going to a provider, it's really important to ask that provider what their availability is. I've noticed like some of my providers are really getting inundated with a lot of the AT assessments, and they take, you know, 10 hours at least to complete for each individual. So if there's something that's needed specifically, you know, someone's moving into affordable housing or an IDASH program or whatever program they're moving into, they want that assessment right away. You may not want to go with just one provider. Once you ask them and they're saying, you know, they're talking a couple of months out, it's really important to shop around with those providers and see if you need something right away, that you're asking that, because then it alleviates that frustration on those individuals that really need it really quick. So I just wanted to throw that out there coming from the resource side.
And I just want to say, in all of that, there's a lot of important messages. The notion that providers are being inundated with requests for AT evaluations is some of the happiest words I've heard in any public forum ever. So I know that it creates a bottleneck that you're alluding to, and I think that Patricia and Amy are going to look to help you figure out how to address that bottleneck, but that's tremendous news for me to hear.
It is. It's extremely, you know, when we hear providers say that they're really happy that they're getting these AT assessments and that we're really helping individuals be more independent, you know, it's the best news that we hear. And then, but we also want to make sure that we're not creating a bunch of frustrations on individuals that really need them really quick. So I'm so happy that the list is growing and we're hearing that it'll really alleviate some of those, and, you know, very exciting news for everybody across the board.
Thank you for that. Currently, there's a request for proposal out. We're looking for an entity to be able to take on a large number of evaluations, of assistive technology evaluations. And that'll be over the course of 2 years. We're looking to have 150 done the first year, 150 done in the second year. And those AT evaluations are key. Having all those done and having the funding through ARPA is going to be able to get the right assistive technology to the right people.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, I see Natasha Cole has a hand up. Natasha.
So, good morning. I work for DDS in the Taunton office, and I have difficulties with my computer. It is a big screen, and it's I have difficulty The sound is very contorted for the microphone, and the video is not showing myself and my direct support personnel. And when I'm doing meetings and different projects that I'm doing, my colleagues cannot see me, but they can hear me. And then also, and I'm looking for newer equipment, like 2 computers with good sound, and also two monitors with cameras. So that means people like my colleagues and my supervisors could see me. And now I'm bringing my own personal computer with me, and it's really difficult. I did understand what Yana was saying. Yes, thank you.
I'd like to respond. I do hear that concern, and this might be a time to say that just recently I requested laptops for a self-advocate coordinator. So I think you should be seeing new equipment in the fairly near future. And so I thought I would share that. Hopefully that addresses some of your connectivity issues.
All right, we'll get to a question in the chat and then up to Kevin, who has his hand raised. Our next question comes from Rena Prajapati. Rena would like to know, can we get a little more description as to what assistive tech and the ARPA grant will cover? Like, what is considered as assistive technology? Is it to have an individual be more independent at home?
So I'll pass it over to Patricia in a moment, but yes and yes are the short answers to your question. Using technology in your home and using it to be more independent is specifically one of the very specific ways we'd love to see assistive technology used, allowing you to be independent in your home environment. And Patricia, in her presentation, and Dave ran through a variety of the types of equipment. If you missed that portion, this is going to be recorded and posted. You can see it then, but there is all sorts of assistive technology, from very, very small and simple low tech to more complicated high tech, medium tech, and some of the technology doesn't have, not everything in assistive technology is electronic. I think in Patricia's presentation, one of the first examples she gave is a weight that goes on a pencil, or allows you to grip a pencil or pen differently and avoid tremors in your hand while writing. That's an example of very low tech, and they're on Amazon for a couple bucks a pop, unless you need it fitted or adjusted by an OT or a PT. But so I appreciate the question. And Patricia, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything to that.
Yes, there are a lot of things that are assistive technology, and it is important that we do stick to the definition of it as per DDS. And we have a committee that meets and we determine that. The committee has an OT, an occupational therapist, a speech and language pathologist in it, who are very knowledgeable in it. I'm also assistive technology specialist, and I studied it. And we determine what is assistive technology specific to that person.
Okay, Kevin, I see you have your hand raised.
Yes, I just wanted to ask about the what do you call it? The I know it's a long way away, but the AT conference. What was I gonna say? I know it's gonna be virtual. No, sorry, physical. Is there anything that we should know about, like what we should how you say? What's the one I'm looking for? Bring to the table? If that's the right phrase, like, you know, like something that you just like anything that we need to. What's the word? Not prepare ourselves. More like something that might, you know, how you say. I see your smile, Patricia. There's something that I just hit the nail.
Yes, because actually you and the other self-advocate coordinators are going to be stars of the conference.
Well, that I'm
So
aware.
I see where you're
But
going with this question. Yeah, because you assisted in creating the curriculum, but you'll also be teaching the class at the conference as well. And we will be having another meeting. We're having 2 more meetings, statewide self-advocate coordinator meetings, to really hone down that curriculum. and to present that. So that's a huge aspect. You guys are going to be playing a huge part at that conference and just moving forward for the future, and the knowledge base of individuals and their rights with technology. So yeah, it's great. I'm looking forward to the bright future of self-advocate coordinators and all the knowledge that they're going to bring to their peers. So excellent. Thanks for bringing that.
We'll discuss it at the next statewide meeting, is what you're saying, right?
We can discuss it anytime you want, Kevin. You can discuss it anytime you want, but yes, it'll
Okay,
also be discussed at the next meeting as well.
Just want to make sure. Okay.
Yep.
All right, thanks, Kevin. Amy, I see you have your hand up.
I just wanted to address a question that came in from Jesus Pagan. I wanted to just I saw on the call, there's roughly 130 people, and many of you are case managers or resource managers. And one of the things that we are doing to afford more training for our DDS staff are what are called solution circles. And we're going to be starting solution circles in the very near future. Anyone can join. We encourage anybody that wants to learn a bit more about remote supports to join. We're going to have actual cases that we review and we develop, and we look at challenges or barriers. And in doing that, we're hoping that other people will have an opportunity to learn and see the planning process in action. So these solution circles are something that we will be doing to address the training needs and the education that people will need around remote supports, because it does get confusing, and we're all learning at the same time. So hopefully that will be something that you see in the very near future.
Amy, I would add, thank you for bringing that up, and Jesus, thank you for the question. In addition to the solution circles, we are in the process of identifying 100 staff members throughout DDS that will have the opportunity to go through more extensive training to become certified as AT professionals. And so if there are DDS staff on the call that are interested, reach out to Patricia. There are still a number of opportunities left, but the outcome of that will be that we will have DDS staff across the state in a variety of positions that really have some in-depth knowledge of assistive technology. We want to have champions across the state, so it's not one expert or 3 experts, but really a common across the board understanding and commitment to the potential uses of assistive technology.
Okay, I see Yana has her hand up. Yana?
I'm just wondering too, because a lot of folks in the autism community do use headphones. Is that considered headphones or earplugs? Is that considered assistive technology?
It would depend on the circumstance. It would depend why it was needed.
Like if somebody has sensory issues and they need the earplugs in order to be able to participate, say going to the theater or going to a movie, or even going to a social event.
Honestly, I like to meet people. I like to have that conversation with them to determine what assistive technology they need, because every situation is different. It seems clear cut, but that really isn't assistive technology. Some people take the approach that, well, Billy uses this device and it works for him, so it might work for Sally. And that's not assistive technology. You really have to have that conversation with Billy and Sally and find out what their need is.
Yeah, and I think it's more around adaptive. There's adaptive equipment that falls within the realm of, in the domains of assistive technology. That may be more what we're talking about. But again, as Patricia said, it really depends on the person and what you're using it for and how you're using it.
Yeah.
Right.
Got it. And do we have a backup plan? All this technology is nice, but what if somebody has this technology in their home and the power goes out? We have a backup plan of how they would get their supports if there's no power. Because all of this is
all included in the remote supports planning process. And so as you follow the steps in that planning process, identifying backups are a real point of concern. And so, yes, we would always have a backup plan in place.
Yeah, and as Duane mentioned about the which we're working on getting these temperature controlled lockers that will have different assistive technology devices within them, and it'll give families a flexibility that if their laptop breaks, they would be able to go to the locker. They're similar to, think of Amazon lockers in apartment buildings or stores where you put in a code and you're able to pull out the product. And when you go to return it, you're also given a code. So it gives families that flexibility to not have to rush there after work before the place closes. Is someone working the day that I need that device? They could go there on a weekend and get that device, because being able to communicate is extremely important. And if you had to wait a weekend to be able to communicate, that's
they could
difficult.
call 1-800 Patricia and get assistance.
There you go. There you go. Thank you, Yana.
All right, I see we have a few more questions in the chat. I would like to get to a comment or a question from Joanna. She says, where can I find the PowerPoint presented today? And I would like to remind all folks on the call that this is being recorded. We'll have it posted on our website, and we'll also include the slide deck that you can access and kind of review some of the information that we've presented today. Going up to a question from Kim Turbach. She says, the problem I have experienced with AT is that in an individualized home support setting where the provider changes suddenly, the new provider is unable to use the equipment. Can AT assessments include guidelines on how to use the equipment? For my SD individual with elderly conservator, I will personally need to be a part of the install process to learn how to also use the equipment. Guidelines on usage is something that really needs to be addressed with the assistive technology providers.
Yes, that's why follow-up is so important. That's why training is so important. We say person-centered, but in a home, it's family-centered. Everyone should know how to use the product. In agencies, everyone should know how to use it so that they could pass that knowledge on if there's another direct support professional that comes on. It's just the follow-up, the training is really important.
All right, next we have a question from Emily Pudva as a follow-up to our previous questions. He said, who could I contact after this about Camp Q getting some upgrades?
And I direct messaged Emily with the people to reach out to and let her know that they would coordinate with you, Patricia.
All right, thank you, Deputy Commissioner.
Thank you.
Yuri Cruz, and then we'll get up to our self-advocate coordinator, Carol Grabby. Do the providers of assistive technology have support for non-English speakers within the family unit to support with questions and tech assistance?
If it's Spanish, I happen to be fluent in Spanish, so I'd be more than happy to help. There needs translation or what have you. And there's other people I'm sure that can also assist.
Thank you, Patricia. Carol, you're up next.
Hold on. Yeah, I just wanted to also mention that the self-advocate coordinators have a website called the Advocates Corner. And there's information on assistive technology on our website as well. So I was wondering if that was appropriate to share with everybody.
Yana, yeah, actually you've created a little library. The self-advocate coordinators have created a little library of tutorials on how to do a lot of different things, on how to do a virtual presentation, on how to work on Teams, cyberbullying. There's a lot of things on that site. So thanks for bringing that up, Carol.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Amy already shared it with us. Is that true, Amy?
Yeah.
Yes, and I just wanted to comment too. There's so many self-advocacy and social groups that are based online now that you can access. So, if you have issues with transportation, there's always a way to connect with people. So I encourage everybody to look at the Advocates Corner and check out the SA groups, the self-advocacy groups, and the social groups that are happening.
Thanks, Amy. Next, we have Jesus, who has their hand up. Jesus.
Hello. So I just wanted to elaborate a little bit more on the training perspective. As a case manager, I want to be sure that I understand the services that we're offering. I want to know who to reach out to in case I have any questions. So primarily my concern is that I'm well knowledge in what is being offered to families. I want to understand the service. I want to know who to communicate with if I have any questions. And I know resource management will also have a ton of questions. So oftentimes this information is available on the J Drive, and we can go to the J Drive and the J Drive will tell us, well, this is what you need to do, and these are the steps that you need to take. And that's something that works for me very well, this series as well, just having these conversations, because I know at some point a family member is going to come to me and say, hey, I would like to look into the remote supports or the assistive tech. And I want to make sure that I have the information that they're looking for in order to assist them better. So that's really all I had to say about the training piece.
Thanks, Jesus. I know that Wayne Seidel is on vacation, but there is information on the J Drive, and I can shoot him a message for upon his return. He can send that out to all case managers in terms of what is available and where it's located.
We also have a helpline. We have an email that is specific to remote supports. And if you have questions, you can use that email. I'll try to find that and post that in the chat.
And also, someone mentioned earlier, there are folks who carry out the AT assessments or who are able to do the evaluations. Will that be sent out to case managers so that when someone asks for an AT assessment or evaluation, then we can reach out to that person or guide the providers in the right direction?
Yes, yes. We need to
Thank you.
update them. Yes.
Okay, I don't see any new questions in the chat. Folks, if you have a question, feel free to drop it in the chat or raise your hand.
So with that, I want to thank you all for attending today. Please remember, if you're interested in signing up, there's a way to do so at our website. And I think also it was provided earlier today in the chat. And we look forward to seeing it at future events later this month and throughout the year. Thank you so much for making this a meaningful conversation for everyone. And have a great day.